So for my 2025 reading goals, I set myself 2 reading challenges. One was a read it or unhaul challenge, the other was a series challenge. And last month I did a read it or unhaul vlog. In the vlog, I got to 5 out of the 6 read it or unhaul books. So I didn't have enough books to do another read it or unhaul vlog. So this vlog, instead of doing another read it or unhaul vlog, I'm gonna be doing my series challenge vlog. I hadn't really planned to do vlogs for the series challenge. I kind of just planned to read series, but I feel like I kind of need one because I'm not doing very well with my series challenge. That being said, I do need to finish my read it or unhaul challenge as well. So this week I do plan to try and work on both of those challenges. So for read it or unhaul, I did have 1 book left in the read it or unhaul challenge, which it is a chunker. It's huge, and from what I understand, probably slow paced because that's the type of high fantasy that I go towards, I guess. So I'm gonna try and start this week. I don't plan on finishing it. I can at least let you know if I think I'm going to unhaul it or not this week, I think. But my main plan is going to be to continue on, hopefully, probably not, but hopefully finish the series that I chose for my series challenge. And the series that I chose is the Dandelion Dynasty, which is a pretty hefty series as well. I'm currently on The Wall of Storms, which is the 2nd book in the series, and it's huge, obviously. I do have access to all the audiobooks, and I do like the audiobook narrator for these, and it's been working for me on audio, so I do think I'll switch between the audio and the physical book for these. I don't have the physical book for the 3rd one. I do have access to the ebook though, so the audiobook and the ebook for the 3rd one. But so far, I'm right about there now, so about, I want to say 20% into book 2. I am enjoying this so much so far. It definitely has like nostalgic, like high fantasy vibes, and this week I do think I'm gonna have more time for reading, so I think it should be good for me to actually read this book, but we'll see. This is definitely a lot. I will say between these 2 books, they're chunky and they're a little scary, so there are other things that I'm gonna try and read kind of like in between, and that's mainly gonna be Discworld by Tahir Prachett, because these are so much fun and so funny. The next book in the series I have to pick up is Sourcery, which is not really the sequel. It's following the same characters that were in The Color of Magic and The Light Fantastic. Not the same characters, the same arc of the story, so like the wizard, because The Color of Magic and The Light Fantastic follows Rincewind, who is a failed wizard, and I believe Sourcery follows one of his children. 8th son, I think, is what this is supposed to be following. So because he's an 8th son of a wizard, he's an 8th son squared, which means he's a sorcerer. I feel like this will be a lot of fun. I am gonna listen to the audiobook for these. I will eventually read the physical books, but right now I think I have too many physical books to read, and I'll potentially pick up some of the other books in the series as well. I did decide last week that I'm going to put the Stormlight Archive on pause, just because I like the Stormlight Archive, but I've been struggling a little bit with Rhythm of War, and I had like kind of 3 big series that I wanted to continue on with over the next couple of years: Malazan, the Stormlight Archive, and Discworld. So instead of the Stormlight Archive, I've switched to Discworld for my 2nd series, and then of course we have Malazan Book of the Fallen, which is my primary series that I need to make progress on. I was supposed to read Gardens of the Moon in January, and I did not get to it, so I will be reading Gardens of the Moon, or at least working on it this week. I have started it. I've read part of the 1st chapter. There's still obviously a lot to go on this one, and honestly, if I just finish Gardens of the Moon by the end of February, I'm gonna be happy. I know I was supposed to read Gardens of the Moon and Dead House Gates. At this point, like, there's 3 weeks left. I don't think I'm gonna be able to read both of them by the end of the month, and I don't want to rush myself with Malazan. I did give myself an entire year, so I did have an extra 2 months, so if I read 1 book a month, I still have a whole extra month in this year to be able to read them. And even if I don't read 1 book a month, and I read 1 book every 2 months, or whatever it is, I'll still make a lot more progress on this series than I have in the past. As of right now, Gardens of the Moon is going to be another book that I at least pick up during this week, and hopefully I can make some progress on it. So those are going to be my primary objective: the Dandelion Dynasty, Gardens of the Moon, and the Golden Key. Well, at least starting the Golden Key. I don't think I'm going to finish the Golden Key. And then of course I'm going to continue on with Discworld. That being said, there are quite a few other series that I have started in winter and have not finished, that if I do not finish it by the end of February, I'm going to have to add it to my series challenge, which I don't actually want to start adding books to that if I can get away with it. So there are a couple others that I'm thinking of picking up as well. The one that I think that I probably will get to sooner rather than later is the Ember and the Ashes series, starting with A Torch Against the Night, because last week I did read An Ember and the Ashes and I loved it a lot. And this is like a YA series, so it's like super easy to read. So whenever like I'm feeling like the other series are a little too much and I don't feel like going to Discworld, this is a series that I feel like can get me out of a potential slump that's coming on. So this is probably what I'm going to pick up. The other 2 two series that I started I think are slower paced series. Like, I'm not gonna have time to get to this week, but this is definitely one that I'm hoping to get to. So it's Sunday, February 9th, and I know I said The Wall of Storms was gonna be my primary goal this week, but when I tell myself that, my brain goes, oh, but what about all of these other things? So yesterday, I did start both A Torch Against the Night and The Golden Key. I made a little bit more progress in A Torch Against the Night. I want to say 40% of the way through this book. I'm probably going to finish this one today, to be honest. I am enjoying it quite a bit. I think it's just nice to have something that I can binge read and that's like just easy to read, if you know what I mean. Like, for example, do you see how much space is between like each line of text here? They're just so far apart, and it's just easy like to get through the book. It feels like I'm making a lot of progress, even though I'm probably not reading that many words, but it's okay. I'm enjoying this quite a bit. I do think I'm a little annoyed at like the romance side of things. When it comes to these types of romances, there's love triangle, but there's like 2 love triangles. But like, I feel like half of the romances are not even that well fleshed out, so you're only rooting for the ones that are going to end up together anyway. So the fact that there's a love triangle still is annoying me. But other than that, I am enjoying this. I am excited to see where this goes, because like, I feel like we're building out the world a little bit. We got to spend a lot of time with like the tribes, which I found incredibly interesting, and I'm excited to see more of this world and like the magic and how that magic actually works. Oh, and we also have a new point of view chapter in this book versus the last book. Helene has her own point of view chapters now, which I enjoy things from her point of view. I don't like her as a character, but I also like to read from unlikable characters' perspectives. I will say she's a little too likable for my taste. Like, I feel like she was quite unlikable in the first book, and like in this book she's not as unlikable. So it is what it is, but I am enjoying this. As for the Golden Key, this book is a work of art is what it feels like. I don't even know how to explain it. I will say it makes sense though, because it is about art. That's what this book is about. There's gonna be some sort of magic that involves art, and I'm not sure what is gonna happen there, but I'm excited for that. It has a very like an Italian Renaissance type of like setting, which I find incredibly interesting, and like the structure of the novel is quite interesting too, because I read about the first chapter and a little bit more than that, 30 something pages. So it looks like not much because it's a 900-page book, but I actually feel like I did read for quite a while, because before the first chapter there was also like a prologue type of chapter, or like an interlude, like how you get interludes like in the Stormlight Archives and those like long books. It's like an interlude, but it's not called an interlude. And then before that, it starts with like these descriptions of paintings, and in the descriptions of the paintings we get like a history of these 2 families, and the families are of painters who I guess they serve the Duke, and I find it quite interesting because obviously they're rivals for the Duke to like support them and everything, but also like there's this like weird back history where there were these 14 women who were like abducted and raped, but like, were they abducted or did they go willingly? Like, there's kind of a hint there that the men who abducted them consider them like wives, and so all of these women had children. Like, I guess the fathers of the children were Tazab. They're called Tazab in here, but it would be like some foreigners that are not accepted in this society. But those children are all adopted by one of these families. It's like generations later we're kind of following them. That backstory I found incredibly interesting, and I'm thinking it's gonna play a pretty big role in the story overall, because even in the first chapter, like the other rival family is called the Serranos, and he was talking about how he was pure of blood. I'm excited to see where this goes. I have a feeling it could be really interesting, and I'm excited to see how like painting and magic come together, because I feel like that could be quite interesting. So it's Monday, February 10th. I don't know if you can tell from my face, but it was a long day. And I forgot to film this morning, which normally I like to film in the morning, so I'm happy and like ready to go, and I'll talk about like whatever I read the night before. But I was running late this morning because I stayed up a little late, so I didn't get time to film, so now I'm tired. But I did end up finishing A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir. I literally like was falling asleep while I was reading this, but I was like, I want to get to the end. I want to get to the end. Falling asleep reading the physical book. I put the audiobook, it was like the last 2 chapters on while I was falling asleep, so I wasn't sure if I had gotten the last chapter before I fell asleep. So I reread it this morning, and I did get the last chapter before I fell asleep, so it wasn't like that big of a deal, but like I wasn't sure. But anyways, I did finish this. I did not like this as much as the first book. I know from that intro it seems like I did enjoy this quite a bit. I think this is just one of those types of series that like it keeps you wanting to read it and keeps you invested in the story. I don't know, there were some good plot twists. There were 2 in particular that I really liked, but other than than that, I feel like I want these books to raise the stakes a little bit more than they are, like from one book to the next. And it was kind of like the same stakes, or even maybe like slightly lower stakes, and I don't know if I like that. So I had decided yesterday that I would wait a little while before moving on to the next book, but I've had kind of a rough day, so I kind of feel like I want something easy to read, and I know this series is gonna be super easy to read, so I think I might still continue on with Reaper at the Gate later today, like tonight, to be the book that I read tonight. But like I said, it's not that this was bad, it was just like I wanted it to be better than the last book, and it wasn't. It was still good though. So I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I don't know, like from this book, I feel like I don't think I'm gonna end up buying this series. I think I'm happy having An Ember in the Ashes, but I don't feel the need to buy A Torch Against the Night, because I don't think I'm gonna reread. I might not reread An Ember in the Ashes. I probably will still reread An Ember in the Ashes. There's like a few things about that book that I just really, really love, whereas this book, there wasn't really anything that I really loved about it. It was just fine. I do know why it's called A Reaper at the Gates now though, which makes me really excited to get into this book. I did also make some progress on The Well of Storms. I'm about not quite halfway through it. It looks like it's halfway like this, but it's like 46% or so. I have about 2 more chapters before the end of this part, so I probably will still read those 2 chapters today and then leave the rest of it for the rest of the week. But I'm enjoying this so much. Like, there are so many different characters that it's following, and particularly the children I find incredibly interesting. It's children learning and growing and things like that I've found to be quite interesting. And like, I feel like I like the amount of detail that the author puts into these books. There's like this whole section in which there's this kid learning about analogograms. I think that's how you pronounce. I don't know for sure if I got that right. Like, they go into so much detail on like the specifics where like not really necessary to go into all of that detail. Like, I can get the gist of what you mean by like the initial explanation, but by going into all of that detail, I feel like it just adds so much to the story that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise, and I really like that, and it makes the world building feel so much fuller as well. So I'm really enjoying this. There seems to be a lot of conflict coming up as well, which makes me really, really excited. So I'm excited to see where this is going. There was some like more political tension in like some prior chapters, so I see that coming to a head as well, which I think could be quite interesting. So it's Saturday, February 15th. It has been such a long week. I kind of forgot to vlog pretty much all week. I was traveling, and then I was working nights, and then there's just a lot going on because I'm switching, like transitioning roles too, so there's just a lot, and then I had a lot going on outside of that as well, so I didn't have time for this. I did make progress on most of the books, and I did actually end up starting Reaper at the Gates by Sabaa Tahir. I'm a little bit more than halfway through it now. I do think I'm gonna finish this probably tomorrow. Not very much left. I will say I think this one is quite a bit slower than the first 2 books in this series. At one point I did consider putting it down. I really considered it, but then like I would read a little bit more and then there'd be a reveal and I'd be like, okay, I'm interested. Let's see how this goes. I'm enjoying this, just not nearly as much as I did the first 2 books. Similarly to A Torch Against the Night, I feel like the series, instead of like raising the stake for each one, like I feel myself like pulling away from it a little bit. I think, like, how do I put it this way? What's annoying me about this is the world building, and it's not because there's a lack of world building. I almost am not interested in the world building, which surprises me because I was quite interested in it in A Torch Against the Night. I wanted to know more about it, but now that I'm learning more about it, I'm just like, this is so annoying, just get to the point, you know? Like, that's weird, right? Because I'm usually the type of reader that loves world building. Like, that's why I love high fantasy, but I feel like the world building and the plot are not fitting together for me. Like, I think to me there's just like a disconnect between the two, and that hasn't been working for me. I do think I want to continue on with it. I'm hoping that it all comes around together at the end, but at the moment I'm struggling a little bit with this one. Because of that, because it's been such a hard week, I have needed something light and easy, so I did start Sourcery by Prachett. I have about 30 minutes left in the audiobook and I'm so excited, and I loved this so much. I do think I maybe don't love it as much as the previous 2 Rincewind books, but I still enjoyed it quite a bit. I think in the previous clip that I said it was following like Rincewind Sun, it's not. Like, it's not at all. There is a sorcerer involved, and I like that part of it quite a bit. It introduced, I would say, at least 3 or 4 new characters that I enjoy quite a bit. I do wish that the luggage was more of a played more of a role in this, because in the first two books, like, the luggage was just like a character that I liked in the book, and of course, like, in this one, the luggage didn't play as much of a role, but I still enjoyed it, and I'm really excited to continue on with this series in general. I did just get Pyramids. I'm expecting this to be around the 4-star range, so I'm expecting that I'll end up giving this pretty much around 4 stars. Not quite. Like I said, The Light Fantastic I gave like 4.25 stars, so about a quarter star less, around the same as like The Color of Magic, but I am enjoying this so much. I love the series. It just is so lighthearted, makes me happy every time I pick it up. I think my library also realized that I was getting close to the end of Sourcery, that I needed another Discworld book, because it gave me Pyramids, which I am excited to pick up. Pyramids is like part of like ancient civilizations. It's one of the ones that I really wanted to get to, because after Pyramids, I want to pick up Small Gods, which when it comes to Discworld, there are like 2 that I feel like people who don't even like read a lot of Discworld books end up reading and loving, and those 2 that I'm thinking of are Small Gods and Going Postal, and I want to get to them because those like seem to be like the 2 most hype books in all of Discworld. So if I can get to Pyramid, then I should be getting to Small Gods very soon as well, which I'm really excited for. I will say I do plan to pick up Weird Sisters before I do Pyramids. So Weird Sisters, then Pyramids, then Small God. I feel like I should get an update on the Golden Key, but I actually forgot to bring it with me when I was traveling, which I was actually really bummed about because I did want to make progress on it. So I haven't made any progress since the last time. I'm still only about 60% of the way in, 50 pages into the book. I do plan to get back to this. I'm a little too tired to do that right now, so I'll be getting back to this tomorrow, but I was so bummed about that. So instead, my main physical book this week has been The Wall of Storms, which I have been enjoying. I've read about 10 more chapters since the last time I talked, so right about there now. I got like, I want to say like a third of the book left. Don't know if I'm gonna finish it this weekend. I might give myself a couple extra days so I can finish this, just to say I did continue on with the series that I chose for my series challenge this season. I am enjoying this so much. I think I finally got to the part. I feel like the majority of this book was just like setup and backstory, and we're finally got to the part where there's quite a bit of action, and I'm enjoying it so much. I'm so excited to see where this ends up going, because I feel like all of the characters in this book are so smart and so intelligent, and at this moment they're put up against this seemingly impossible task. So I am excited to see what they do, because like I honestly don't know what they're gonna do. I'm really excited to finish this one. I might actually switch to this one this weekend as opposed to Rebirth the Gates, because I am enjoying this one a lot more. So it is Monday, February 17th. I tried to listen to the audiobook for Rebirth the Gates morning, and I just could not. I don't know what it was, but I just could not get into it, which like there was recently a pretty big reveal. For some reason, I just don't care anymore. And I feel like I really want to get into a story and be immersed in it, and I feel like that's what the Ember and the Ashes series has done for me in the past, especially the first book. Now it's just completely the opposite, and I feel like it's almost putting me into a reading slump. So instead, I listened to Wall of Storms this morning, and I'm enjoying Wall of Storms so much. So I don't think it's a reading slump. I think it is literally just Rebirth the Gates. I think I'm just not into it anymore, and I'm like 70% of the way into this book, mind you, but like I just can't bother to finish it. So I'm gonna DNF the series at 70% into the third book. Like I feel bad about it, but like at the same time, I kind of wish it was a duology, because there was like a plot line that was set up in the beginning of the novel that was kind of closed at the second novel, at the end of the second novel, and I feel like it would have just been so much nicer and cleaner if the series had just ended all its threads there, but it like started to open up new threads, and I didn't care about the new threads, even though I cared about the old ones a lot. So yeah, I'm DNFing the series, and I didn't want to do that. But on the good note, I am enjoying Wall of Storms and the Dandelion Dynasty very much. I hope to get to third book next week. I don't think I'm going to finish the series in February, but I think reading 2 books in the series, considering how big books these are, would be a huge accomplishment. So really enjoying that so far, and super excited to continue on. It is Saturday, February 22nd, and I feel like this vlog turned into like a 2-week vlog, because I was determined not to finish this vlog until I finished Wall of Storm, which I did finish finally yesterday. It was a long time coming, because it's, you know why, but this was so amazing. Like definitely worth the read. I got through halfway through this book and I was already in a book hangover because of how good this is. It's so hard to explain why I like this book so much, because there's just so much going on here. I think part of it is the style, the way the timeline shifts throughout the book, and how it follows different characters is quite interesting and unique, I find. But also, like, the cultures in this book, I feel like is not the type of cultures that we would necessarily be able to conceive of, like, on this side of the world, if that makes sense. So, like, I think Ken Liu is, like, the perfect author for that, because he translates a lot of books into English. So I feel like he has, like, the perfect kind of, like, experience different cultures that, like, makes this book amazing, in my opinion. Like, I'm also just really excited to see the next book, because, like, the ending of this book sets up this interesting tension in the next book that I'm just interested in seeing what happens. But at the same time, I'm in kind of like a book hangover from reading this book, so I don't know if I want to start the next book right away. But I did borrow it from the library, so I have the book, which makes me want to start it right away, because also, like, I don't think anyone else has read this book, like the physical book. I don't think the library has checked it out to anyone else before, because this is, like, brand new. So, like, I really want to get to it, but also, like, this is a lot, and I just don't think I'm up for this right now. So I don't know what I'm gonna do next week for my vlog, because I might get to the Veiled Throne, I might not. This might be one of those series that I need time between books. But I think I am gonna buy a copy of it, because I think I'm, like, into the series now. It's one of those series that I feel like I will absolutely be rereading, because I need to see how this is done. Like, this is so masterfully done, and I am definitely excited to continue on with the series. I think I'm actually gonna add it as one of my, like, big series I'm, like, working towards, similar to, like, Malazan and Discworld for this year, rather than just having it be, like, a seasonal goal, just because it is a little too epic to read all in one season. That's where I've landed at for this series, and I am excited that I was able to continue on with it in this particular vlog. So that is all I have for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've read any of these books, let me know down in the comments, because I would love to hear from you. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel, and I post at least one video per week, so please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.